All right, lady and gentlemen, we are now off to fan favorites, shout outs and rants. We'll take the same order: Mr. Armstrong, Mr. Kelly, Mr. Marks, and Dr. Lomax. And
Yeah,
then Tom Fox batting fifth.
I've been thinking
Mr.
about
Armstrong.
Yeah, I've been thinking about Operation Spider's Web. So many of you will remember February 28th, that meeting between Zelensky and Trump, where Trump effectively said to Zelensky, "You're a busted flush, you've got nothing, you can't continue this war." So part of the Ukrainian response was this attack using 117 drones inside what looked to be wooden hand built cottages, which seem to have destroyed 34% of Russia's cruise missile capability, 41 aircraft destroyed, apparently a cost of $7 billion, although I don't know how you value an aged Russian bomber fleet. But some people say the most critical thing is the diminution of Russian AWACS capability, so early warning capability, the ability to allocate fighter jets and drones to task. Russia apparently used to have 42 of these planes, the A-50 Berev mainstay. It now may have as few as four. And in my mind, it's somewhat equivalent to Operation Chastise, the Dam Busters raid in 1943. Then World War II was sort of going against the Allies, and the RAF had a bomb invented by a guy called Barnes Wallis and a group of very skilled aircrew led by Commander Guy Gibson, and they took out some bombs which some say changed the war. My daughter did a project on this where she interviewed a German guy who was stood by the dams as they collapsed, and she asked the sort of question that only children, I think, could ask because adult researchers wouldn't dare. And she said, when the dams were falling, there was chaos all around you, you could see the water flowing. Was your first thought about the marvels of British engineering? And the guy said, no, it wasn't. But he said that in his view, Operation Chastise was the turning point in the war. Why? Because he said that Germany had been told that their military machine was the best, that they were more or less invincible, and that they were going to crush the opposition. And he said, as a whatever he was, 12-year-old kid, that that was the day he started to think that all of what they'd been told wasn't true. And this may be the turning point in the Russia Ukraine conflict as well. I know people in Russia are re-evaluating what they've been told about the might of the Russian military. And this might turn out to be one of those turning points that maybe also proves Trump wrong.
Wow. You oftentimes set the bar, Mr. Armstrong, but I think you have set it very high. Matt Kelly, what do you got for us?
I have a bit of a rant and shout out at the same time about the same person who, of all people, I'm here to discuss Marjorie Taylor Green, the Republican and congressman who is widely known as being nuts and pretty dumb. My rant, or as people might recall, last week or in our last episode, I had a rant about House Republicans approving a proposal to ban states from regulating artificial intelligence for 10 years. I think this is a bad idea and we should not do it. Much to my surprise, Marjorie Taylor Green has now come out in favor of a ban, or she's come out against imposing the ban. She thinks that states absolutely should have the right to regulate artificial intelligence. She is a big fan of states' rights, which is, I suppose, true. And she also is very wary about the power of AI. So, my shout out to Marjorie Taylor Green is thank you for seeing the perils of this ban that your party has pushed through. And now she says that if she has the chance, she will vote against it. My rant about Marjorie Taylor Green is that she said that she is now opposed to this because when she voted for it 2 weeks ago, she hadn't read the bill and didn't know this was in there. First, disappointing, Congressman Green, that you do not listen to our podcast and do not read Radical Compliance. I've been writing about this for weeks. Second, I am, in fact, not surprised because she is, like I said, pretty dumb. Marjorie Taylor Green is the one who thinks that Jewish space lasers were responsible for California wildfires.
There were.
My other big gem of Marjorie Taylor Green, people might remember that when monkeypox, there was an outbreak of that several years ago. She was very confused about why children were contracting monkeypox because everybody knew that monkeypox is a sexually transmitted disease. People, if you think monkeypox is a sexually transmitted disease, do the world a favor and just don't have sex with anybody. However, that's Marjorie Taylor Green being dumb, voting for things she does not read and does not understand, but at long last has come to her senses and realized that what she voted for, a ban on AI regulation, is in fact bad. We shouldn't do it. She is now correct on this. So, Congressman Green, welcome to the revolution. Please stick by your guns. And if that piece of legislation is still in the final bill, go ahead, vote against it because we should.
As the former head of the Serious Fraud Office once said, I had a Damascene moment and the scales fell from my eyes and I saw the light. Mr. Marks, what do you got?
Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
All right. It's really tough to compete with Armstrong and Kelly, but I was thinking about what I was going to talk about this week, and this is kind of something that's a little bit near and dear to me. It's really not the person who made the headlines or the one who posted the polished LinkedIn humble brag, not the company that threw a launch party for doing the bare minimum. So my shout out this week goes to the quiet professionals. And what I mean by that is the ones who show up early, stay late, fix problems no one else even saw, and never ask for credit. The ones who don't need a memo to know what integrity looks like, who carry broken systems on their backs and still manage to deliver a good work product. So you won't find them on stage, you won't see them in a press release, but they're the reasons why our projects and our work succeed and clients stay happy and reputations are built. So thank you for that. So here's to the grinders, the problem solvers, the ones who don't just do the job, they elevate it. This week's MVP to me, or the shout out goes to the quiet professionals, and that could be you.
Hemma, you got a high set of bars.
I'm just going to mic drop and say goodnight. Oh, yeah, I can't top that. So I'll leave it to you, Tom, to bring the bar back up in a moment. So my rave today is I was at the SCCE regional conference in the DMV just yesterday. So my rave is for all regional conferences and regional get-togethers. It was wonderful. We kicked off the event with Amy Wilson, founder of the Culture Shift Studio. Nick Gallo was there talking beautifully about the ROI and compliance. Carl Hahn closed it out. It was a really great session. But as always, the best part about it is to get together with the other professionals in the community. So thank you to the organizers. It was wonderful. My rant is about being late to the party. I have learned a lot about podcasting with you, Tom Fox, and you're one of my favorite podcasters. But I've now got a new favorite set of podcasters. I haven't named them yet, but they're two AI podcasters. And if I put my thoughts and my resources and my sources into a Notebook LLM or a Gemini, I can generate in an instant a very good podcast between these two hosts. And so I'm ranting only because I'm late to the party. It's incredible technology. It can only get better. I know we're all going to be keeping up, but I feel very privileged that I'm learning what's out there. And I know, Tom, you and I are going to continue having conversations about this new technology and what it means for the compliance podcasting community. But that's definitely my rant is, oh gosh, why didn't I know about this earlier?
You didn't know about it earlier because it's came available about 3 months ago. So you're not that late to the party. I am going to shout out to Wells Fargo. I have excoriated Wells Fargo for many years because of their fraudulent account scandal. But this week, the Federal Reserve lifted their asset cap. And this turned out to be one of the best penalties of any regulator for a company. And there are several reasons I'd like to go into this. First of all, in 2018, they handcuffed Wells Fargo to a 1.39 increase in overall revenue per year until the order was lifted. The company at that point had John Stump, the CEO, who'd been with the company and developed the phrase 8 is great. He had left the company. His predecessor didn't seem to understand the gravity of the cultural miasma the company was in and just thought, we'll slap a few compliance controls in place and go on forward. And that was completely insufficient. So they brought in a third new CEO, John Schraff. And Schraff basically said, we're going to get this company right. And executives' number one task was to put effective compliance in place, completely change the culture of the company. And they were able to do so because of the penalty. And I know that may sound counterintuitive, but what it forced the company to put these compliance and ethics controls and cultural changes in place, but it also allowed them to do that because they could focus on growth. And so over the past between 2017 and 2024, Wells Fargo missed a lot in growth. PNC Financial grew over 47%, Bank of America 43%, Citigroup 27.7%, and Wells Fargo actually went down with 1.1%. But here's where the magic happened. With risk-rated assets between that same time went down for Wells Fargo. So they didn't have growth, but they actually lost risk. So this was pretty eye-opening for me. Now, for those who don't think you can literally spend 80% of your time on compliance and still make money, in 2024, Wells Fargo was the number 2 bank on full year return on common equity. PNC Financial, 11.82, Wells Fargo, 11.44, Bank of America, 9.52, and Citigroup, just over 6%. So this was a fabulous example of where a regulatory penalty actually has made the company better. And now the company is poised to move to areas of higher growth, but they have the culture in place and they have the framework in place in terms of internal controls to manage the new risks that they're going to take on. So this is one of the finest examples of regulatory oversight and penalty that I have ever seen. In the past, we've talked about monitorships, and some companies will crow about how the monitor really helped them. Here it was the penalty that helped them. And that's not something I'd seen before. So I want to shout out to, I guess I should include the Fed and OCC because there's the one that levied the penalty. But I also want to shout out to Wells Fargo for doing what Jonathan Marks said, the quiet professionalism of doing compliance day in and day out where they had to. So, ladies and gentlemen, what a great everything compliance. I can't wait till we get back together. And Hemma, you're definitely coming back.
Very kind.
All right.
Compliance Podcast Network. Start your mornings with daily compliance news, quick, sharp updates on the top compliance and ethics stories in under 5 minutes every morning in Compliance Podcast Network. Because compliance never sleeps. Need practical advice fast? Check out Compliance Tip of the Day. One actionable idea to level up your program. Short and sweet, every day on Compliance Podcast Network. Got 10 minutes? We've got the week's top 10 stories. 10 for 10 brings you the big compliance headlines. Fast, fun, and focused. Every Saturday on Compliance Podcast Network. And don't miss the Sunday Book Review, where compliance meets culture through must-read books and big ideas every Sunday in Compliance Podcast Network. Whether you're in the office, on a walk, or commuting, stay smart, stay ethical, stay tuned. Only on the Compliance Podcast Network. Available wherever you listen to podcasts.